Warning: this content is not for the faint of heart. What follows is the verbatim testimony and evidence presented by Cassie Ventura in federal court, recorded on the fifth day of the trial of Sean Diddy Combs. Some details may shock you, leave you reeling, or make you question if this could possibly be real. How blind can love truly be, and how long does it take for a woman to realize she's fallen for a monster? Cassie Ventura was once Hollywood's muse, beautiful, talented, and head over heels in love with the most powerful man in American music, Diddy. But behind the stage lights and red carpet embraces lay a nightmare that stretched across years. No one knew that beyond the doors of his million-dollar mansion, Cassie wasn't living like a princess, she was a prisoner. Controlled, manipulated, tortured both body and soul in parties too depraved for even the darkest dreams. Cassie once believed her love could change Diddy. But then it hit her. This wasn't love. It was power. It was dependency. It was a trap, wrapped in glittering gold. Then, in 2025, under the glare of a federal courtroom and hundreds of flashing cameras, Cassie stepped forward. No longer the timid singer of years past, she was now the key witness, the storm ready to topple the bad boy empire. Why did she choose this moment to speak? What evidence does she hold that could send Diddy to prison for life? And is this horrifying tale just the tip of a far larger criminal web waiting to be exposed? Cassie has spoken, and when her voice rang out, the courtroom fell silent. An empire may crumble. A man once crowned a king may face justice, and the truth, raw, unfiltered, is finally coming to light. This isn't just testimony, it's the cry of a shattered heart, a warning to every woman. The full testimony, every detail never before revealed. It's all here in this video.
Puff is a different dude. You understand? It's the drugs, it's the alcohol. He wasn't that dude back then. Puff wouldn't smoke no weed. The only pills he had started taking that got him addicted was those opioids that he was taking because of the pain in his wrist from Kim slicing his.
The air outside the Los Angeles federal courthouse hung heavy, thick with the tension of an approaching storm. Reporters jostled for position, cameras flashed relentlessly, and on X, the hashtag #Diddy trial exploded with millions of posts. Inside, the courtroom was packed to the brim, jurors with steely gazes, public spectators, many of them women, quietly clasping each other's hands as if seeking solace. They had come to hear Cassie Ventura, once an icon of beauty and talent, now rising to confront her past. Cassie entered, her slender shoulders squared, her eyes resolute. She wore a simple gray coat, no makeup, no jewelry, a stark contrast to the glamorous figure who once graced magazine covers arm in arm with Diddy. Flanked by two security officers, she approached the witness stand facing a team of defense attorneys, sharp minds paid millions to shield Diddy's empire. The judge issued a stern reminder that courtroom decorum would be strictly enforced. Then the questioning began. Judge Eleanor Grayson struck her gavel, her voice cutting through the silence. Today we continue with the testimony of Miss Ventura. The courtroom fell deathly still save for the faint rustle of the prosecutor's papers. No one spoke it aloud, but everyone felt it today. A horrifying truth was certain to unravel. The defense, seemingly shifting tactics, bypassed routine questions about the relationship and instead asked Cassie to describe, in meticulous detail, Diddy's Los Angeles mansion, its design, layout, and security protocols. The questions felt oddly architectural at first, until one slipped through that brought everything to a halt. Miss Ventura, have you ever been beneath the property, inside the tunnel? A moment of silence gripped the room. Gasps were stifled. The prosecution objected, calling the question irrelevant and speculative, but the judge allowed it. Cassie took a deep breath. Yes, she said. That single word shifted the air in the room. The attorney pressed on. Miss Ventura, he asked, what did you endure while involved with Sean Combs? The question hung in the air, an invitation into a nightmare. How could a woman who once believed in love bear such unimaginable pain? What secrets did she carry from those lightless rooms? And how, after years of silence, did she find the courage to face the man who had shattered her world? For months, whispers about Diddy had consumed social media, tales of debaucherous parties, allegations of manipulation, and hushed rumors of a secret tunnel beneath his sprawling mansion. Reddit brimmed with conspiracy theories, anonymous claims, even jokes in the press, but no one could confirm the truth. Not until Cassie, the woman who once loved Diddy with every fiber of her being, chose to shatter the silence. She wasn't just a witness, she was the spark that could burn down a facade of lies. Not until now, the defense attorney leaned in, his voice sharp with intent. And what did you see when you went down there? I didn't want to go, Cassie began. It was punishment. Clutching the witness stand, her eyes glistened, but her voice cut through the darkness like a blade. It had all started like a dream. Cassie, a 22-year-old singer with a honeyed voice and eyes full of hope, met Diddy at a glitzy Los Angeles party. He was tall, magnetic, with a smile that lit up the room. "You're the next star," he told her, raising a glass of champagne in her direction. Cassie blushed, her heart pounding. She believed this was her chance to change her life, and more than that, she believed Diddy was the man who would guide her to glory. They quickly became a power couple. Red carpet photos, glowing tabloid stories, and promises of a dazzling future. Cassie felt like she was living a fairy tale. But 6 months in, the dream began to crack. One night at Diddy's Beverly Hills mansion, he took her hand and led her through a wooden door inlaid with jade. "You need to prove your loyalty," he said, his voice low, commanding. Cassie smiled, thinking it was a game. But when the door swung open, she stepped into another world, a world she never wanted to know.
That's where a lot of gay men meet. And they all take hot baths together.
Dim red light pulsed, like blood seeping through the dark. Cameras glared from every angle, their lenses flashing like soulless eyes. The air reeked of cleaning chemicals mixed with sweat, churning Cassie's stomach. There were about 10 people, she recounted in court, her voice trembling. Men, women, some in leather masks, some kneeling on the floor. They didn't speak, they just waited. She saw a young woman, naked except for a mask, curled up on a chair, her eyes red and pleading. A man stood nearby, rope in hand, his gaze vacant. Nameless pills passed from hand to hand like a twisted game. Diddy stood at the center of the room, a cruel deity orchestrating it all. "He handed me a pill," Cassie said, tears streaming down her face. "I refused." He laughed, but his eyes, they made me feel like I wasn't human. Forced to comply, Cassie swallowed the pill, desperate to please the man she loved. But what she witnessed broke her heart. A woman was coerced into humiliating acts, tears streaming as she stayed silent. A man was shoved to the ground, face slick with sweat, for disobeying orders. "I felt their pain," Cassie said, her voice choking. "I wanted to scream, to save them, but I was trapped, like a bird in an iron cage." In a moment of desperation, Cassie made a mistake. She confronted Diddy, screaming that she couldn't go on, that she would leave him and expose his secrets. "I thought my love could change him," she testified, her voice quivering. "I thought if I tried hard enough, he'd become a better man." But Diddy didn't rage. He just stared at her, his smile cold as ice, and gave a signal. 2 burly men seized her, dragging her through a hidden passage concealed behind a false wall. A rug near the pool was pulled back, revealing a hatch cloaked in dried leaves. Cold concrete stairs descended into a yawning tunnel. The corridor twisted and turned, its gray walls lit by flickering fluorescent lights that seemed to mock her. It didn't feel like part of a home. It felt like a clandestine fortress. Cassie was dragged behind Diddy, her heart pounding in her chest. He was muttering to himself, talking about proving something, she recounted. "I thought about running, but I didn't dare, because he gave me that look, the one that said, 'If you try to run, you will pay a price.'" As they passed through a security door unlocked by a keypad, she stepped into a vast chamber, perverse and clinical. Dim red lights pulsed, cameras lurked in every corner, sleek black leather furniture gleamed. The air was thick with the stench of cleaning chemicals, sweat, and something indescribable. "That room wasn't for relaxation or entertainment," Cassie said, her voice trembling. "You could feel that terrible things had happened there." She pointed out details: shelves stacked with props, masks, ropes, oils, rubber outfits, a rack of clothes that looked untouched, mirrors coating the ceiling and floor, soundproof padding on the walls. "It was built for captivity," she said. She was locked in a lightless room, furnished only with a wooden bench and chains dangling from the wall. No windows, no sound, just darkness and dread. "They left me there for exactly 7 days and 7 nights, she testified, her voice breaking. "No food, just 1 bottle of water a day. I heard whispers through a speaker, Diddy's voice, telling me I had to learn obedience. I started to think I'd be trapped there forever," she said. "I heard crying, whether it was real or in my head, like trapped souls." The defense pressed her. "Did you ever see anyone else down there?" Cassie hesitated. "Yes." She described 2 women in wigs and masks. One lay motionless on a couch, the other sat near a tripod with a camera. They didn't speak, they barely moved. He called them performers. I wasn't introduced. By the 7th day, her spirit and body broken, Cassie fell to her knees, sobbing through the door's crack. "I said I'd do anything," she testified, her voice raw with pain. "I said I'd be whatever he wanted, just to get out." Diddy appeared, his smile cold as a blade. He opened the door, pulled her out, and whispered, "Now you know who you belong to." She left the tunnel that night, trembling. Her clothes carried the stench of that place for hours. In court, she admitted she never told anyone. Not friends, not family, because I didn't want to disappear. That's how it felt. Like if I spoke, I'd vanish. Like those girls in that room. When asked to elaborate on the layout, Cassie offered even more chilling details. It wasn't just one room. I saw 3 others. One had no light at all, just a bench in the middle and chains on the wall. The second had a full-length mirror and a digital panel by the bed. I didn't know what it was for. The third had nothing but a chair and a box of wires. The prosecutor locked eyes with her, voice razor sharp. Why speak out now? Cassie drew a deep breath, her gaze steady yet trembling. Because it's not just about me anymore. Because he hasn't stopped. Because if someone else gets dragged into that darkness and never comes back. Her words trailed off, choked by emotion. The judge signaled a brief recess, the air in the courtroom heavy with unspoken dread. Cassie's testimony wasn't just a personal reckoning. It was a warning bell. As the trial pressed on, the focus shifted from the secrets buried beneath the mansion to the horrors unfolding above ground, truths no less chilling. The defense tried to paint Cassie as a willing participant, zeroing in on the infamous term freak-offs. The phrase had surfaced in text between her and Diddy, often cloaked in playful or cryptic tones. But today, the court was about to uncover its true meaning. Can you explain what a freak-off was? The defense attorney asked. Cassie nodded slightly, her voice calm but resolute. They were planned nights, always centered on sex. Sometimes with multiple people, sometimes filmed. He assigned roles, gave instructions. Sometimes drugs were mandatory. The jury was shown texts dating back years. One from Diddy read, "Game starts at 10 p.m., no breaking character until 8 a.m. Another, "Bring candles, grab outfits. I want you in a wig." Cassie clarified these weren't one-off events. The parties were regular, at least twice a month. Some were spontaneous, others meticulously arranged like business meetings, with schedules, timelines, and people ushered in by assistants. She admitted she sometimes agreed to participate, but agreeing when your mind is clouded by drugs isn't consent. I was often high. Sometimes I didn't remember what I'd done. The prosecutor interjected, clarifying that these sessions, as Diddy called them in writing, often took place in luxury hotels or his private homes. Did any happen in the tunnel? The prosecutor asked. Cassie swallowed hard, her voice softening. Yes, she described one night when she was ordered to wear a rubber suit and remain silent throughout. I was warned I'd be punished if I broke character. There were strangers that night, he didn't give names. I was told to trust him. A text from Diddy entered as evidence, carried a chilling line. This time I want total control. No safe word. Cassie testified she didn't always control her own body. Afterward, I felt hollow. I wasn't sure who I was anymore. She deleted videos and photos, not out of shame, but fear. Fear that speaking out would bring worse consequences. The prosecutor pivoted to the role of drugs. What substances were commonly used? Cassie answered without hesitation. Opiates, MDMA, and pills I didn't know the source of. Sometimes I didn't know what I took until I collapsed. She said the drugs were often handed to her by Diddy or his staff. He'd say it was to help me relax, but it made me foggy, pliant. She recalled waking up on the floor of his Miami property, drenched in sweat, a camera light still glaring. I didn't know how I got there. Who was in the room? She revealed she began to suspect videos were kept for control. He'd say, "You're mine forever." At first, I thought it was just words. Then I realized he was documenting everything to manipulate me. The defense challenged her, asking if she ever saw these videos. Only once, briefly, on his laptop. Me, 2 men. I didn't remember it happening. She said she begged him to delete it. Diddy's response, "I keep everything for leverage." Cassie explained his control extended beyond the bedroom. If she left the house without checking in, he'd called dozens of times. If she didn't answer, he'd smash things and threaten to destroy her life. She suspected he ordered his circle to stop selling her drugs directly, accusing her of stealing from him. It was like he cut off every escape route. I was completely dependent on him, she said. She once tried to break free, sneaking into a rehab center disguised as a spa. But Diddy found out, he showed up, told them I was just being dramatic. I was forced to leave the next day. The courtroom sat in stunned silence, as Cassie admitted she tried to quit drugs alone, multiple times, but failed. I couldn't, she whispered, because part of me still loved him. And a bigger part was terrified that if I spoke, something worse would happen. As the trial stretched into the afternoon, the prosecution opened a new line of questioning. Were you the only one? Cassie shook her head. No, I wasn't the only woman. Not by a long shot. She recounted how, during the freak-offs, other women appeared. Sometimes escorts, sometimes strangers, even celebrities. They arrived by private car, sometimes masked, sometimes crying. I didn't ask questions. I was too scared. She mentioned Tiffany Red, a former friend, one of the few who glimpsed the horrors behind locked doors. Tiffany was at my 29th birthday party. She saw everything. She told me it wasn't right, but I brushed her off. The court revisited an open letter Tiffany wrote years later, published in Rolling Stone, boldly calling out Diddy's behavior. She tried to speak out, but she was silenced, Cassie said, her voice heavy with regret. The prosecutor pressed on. Did any staff members know what was happening? Yes, Cassie replied. His assistants coordinated everything. They knew when women were arriving, cleaned up afterward. I don't know how much they understood, but they weren't blind. She recalled a chilling moment when she realized privacy was an illusion. Once, I caught his assistant walking in on us. He didn't flinch, just said, "Sorry, boss," and left. The defense tried to argue these details didn't prove criminal intent, but Cassie's words cut like a blade. It wasn't just about sex, it was about control, submission. He needed to feel untouchable. When asked why so many stayed silent for so long, her answer came swiftly, unwavering. Because we thought no one would believe us, because he's Diddy. She paused, her gaze resolute. But now the truth is out, and I'm not the only one ready to stand up and expose him. The prosecution turned to physical violence. The courtroom screen flickered to life, displaying undeniable evidence that left the jury and spectators reeling, bruises, blood. A body scarred in silence. Did Mr. Combs ever assault you? The prosecutor asked. Cassie nodded, eyes downcast. Yes, many times. She described the early signs, gripping her wrist too tightly, shoving her during arguments. He'd always apologize, swear it wouldn't happen again. But it always did. The court was shown a photo of a gash above her eyebrow. Cassie confirmed it stemmed from a night she returned late after dining alone. He thought I was cheating. I wasn't. She said Diddy was drunk, paranoid, and explosive. I was supposed to pack for a trip, but I was exhausted. I fell asleep on the couch. I woke up to him screaming. I don't remember much after that, just the pain. She recalled being kicked in the back after he read a text from another man. Who was it? The prosecutor pressed. Kid Cudi, she answered. He thought we were involved. She explained she and Cudi had briefly dated during a break from Diddy, but he couldn't let it go. He brought it up constantly, using it as an excuse to punish her. Even when she tried to leave, he found ways to cling. Messages came through trusted contacts, making her feel watched, reminding her he held the reins. Asked why she didn't go to the police, Cassie's voice dripped with bitterness. I didn't think anyone would believe me. He was too powerful. She recounted a harrowing night on a yacht in the Caribbean when he pushed her overboard, calling her dead weight. She swam to shore, yet still returned to him. The jury was visibly shaken. The judge called for a pause. Cassie had just laid bare the truth. The abuse wasn't just emotional. It was physical, visceral, real. When the trial resumed, the prosecution carefully guided Cassie to the most infamous event, the night at the Intercontinental Hotel. This wasn't social media gossip. This was the night that changed everything. This was the night before your movie premiere, correct? They asked. Yes, Cassie replied, her voice soft but steady. I'd waited years for that premiere. I was proud of the film, wanted to savor the moment. But Diddy had other plans. She said he pressured her into another freak-off, claiming it would be quick, a way to reconnect. She hesitated, even refused, but he persisted. He said it was tradition that every milestone needed one of our nights. Eventually, she relented. I just wanted peace. I didn't want to fight before my big day. Cassie described being driven to the Intercontinental, expecting it to be just them. But when she arrived, others were already there. 2 women, a male dancer, candles, cameras. I knew what it was. She was given a pill. He said it would help me relax. I was exhausted, so I took it. Fragmented memories flooded back, the dancer in a mask, Diddy filming on his phone, her reflection in a mirror slurring, words she didn't recall saying, then darkness. I woke up hours later, alone, drenched in sweat. I checked my phone. He texted, "You were amazing. I'm proud." I didn't know what he meant. She said. She didn't ask. She got up, showered, and walked the red carpet. Hours later, flashing a perfect smile. No one knew. No one saw the bruises hidden beneath her glamorous gown. The prosecution presented texts from that day. Diddy asked if she was still glowing, if she wanted to do it again after the after party. She never responded. That night, something inside her shattered. For the first time, she dared to imagine a life without him. It wasn't just one bad night, it was the final straw, after a decade of captivity. The next morning, she flew to New York alone. For the first time in years, she felt she could breathe. As Cassie concluded her testimony, The courtroom fell silent, the air thick with the weight of her words. She hadn't just shared her story, she had torn apart the veil, hiding a world of manipulation and pain. "I'm speaking for those who can't," she said, locking eyes with the jury, her voice ringing like a solemn vow. "For the girls trapped in that tunnel, for the cries I heard, for the souls Diddy stole." Her words ignited a fire that spread across the globe. On X, justice for Cassie surged with millions of shares. Other victims began to step forward, recounting their own nights of horror. The FBI raided Diddy's properties, uncovering evidence of tunnels and cameras. Though the findings remained sealed, the world knew the truth was clawing its way to the surface. Cassie now lives a new life, but the scars on her body and in her soul linger. "I once thought love could save him," she said, "but I learned no one can redeem a monster. I stand here, not as a victim, but as a survivor." She called for justice, not just for herself, but for every woman who ever stepped into Diddy's darkness. Her final question hung in the air, a haunting warning. How do we shield loving hearts from monsters disguised as stars? Who will be the next to rise, break the silence, and bring light to the darkest corners of power?